The movie opens in 1968 during the Vietnam War, during which we notice a platoon of US soldiers advancing through a jungle in heavy rain. The sergeant is calling for help over the radio and reveals how many of his soldiers are already dead. All of a sudden, one of the soldiers suddenly screams before disappearing into the darkness, causing panic among the group. The sergeant raises his gun and shoots blindly, but in a shocking twist, a huge dinosaur emerges from the jungle and attacks him at brutal speed. The next morning, we see two army officials who arrive at a Vietnamese village where some US soldiers have set up camp. Their mission is to investigate a shipment of nuclear material being used by the Soviets in the region. They are then approached by a frantic woman who describes how a feathered demon killed her husband, but the Americans assume she has lost her mind. The two officials investigate the surrounding area, where radiation levels are found to be very high. They meet a colonel named Jericho and inform him about the radiation, and also how their team has been missing in a nearby valley. Jericho thus decides that he will send his team, which is called Vulture Squad, on a rescue mission. Afterwards, Colonel Jericho summons the Vulture Squad, which is made up of very experienced and highly skilled soldiers who are used to undertaking dangerous missions. Jericho states that a platoon of soldiers has disappeared in a remote valley, and that their mission will be to locate them. There are also rumors of something strange occurring in the valley, but when the soldiers ask questions, Jericho simply states, it is classified. Next, we meet the members of Vulture Squad, led by Sergeant First Class Baker. Serving as second in command is Sergeant Xavier, accompanied by the rookie radio operator, Leon. The team also includes former air cavalry soldiers Eli and Miller, as well as snipers, Keys and Logan. That night, the helicopters drop the Vulture Squad deep into the jungle. The pilot warns that the compass is unreliable due to strong magnetic interference in the area. However, the undeterred men land on the swampy ground and begin to advance. They soon notice massive claw marks etched into the trees and gigantic three-toed footprints in the mud.
Looks like your mother's been through here, Keys,
says Logan. They also stumble upon a backpack containing a map of Research Station 4, along with a notebook that says, "We are being hunted." The squad analyzes the map and decides to head in the indicated direction when suddenly, Baker is grabbed by a dinosaur and dragged deep into the woods. However, he quickly opens fire on the creature, prompting it to get scared and finally run away. The scene then cuts to another part of the valley where we see a group of Soviet soldiers patrolling the area. They are guided by a native woman named Con Nen, who despises the Americans after they wiped out her village and killed her family. The group moves cautiously forward when suddenly, one of them becomes separated from the rest. The unfortunate soldier is instantly attacked by a dinosaur, which tears his head off in a single bite. His body is soon discovered by his companions, who assume the Americans killed him and vow to take revenge. Meanwhile, the Vulture Squad reaches a cave where they discover the mutilated bodies of several soldiers from the missing team. This leaves them devastated, and based on the condition of the corpses, they realize something horrifying has occurred. Suddenly, a pack of massive feathered dinosaurs emerges from the darkness and begins attacking them. The soldiers fire back relentlessly and can't understand how such ancient creatures have come to life. Soon, a huge, colossal dinosaur charges past them, tearing down trees in its path. During the chaos, Barker and Leon are separated from the rest of the group and quickly become lost. The two climb onto nearby vines to escape the creature and manage to reach the top of the cave, but suddenly they come face to face with a sleeping T-Rex, which terrifies them. The duo barely has time to flee when a group of young dinosaur hatchlings appears and screeches loudly, which wakes their mother. With this, the mother T-Rex becomes furious to see the intruders and wastes no time in attacking them. Baker and Leon fire their weapons, but the bullets barely slow the creature. They run desperately through the trees, but the dinosaur relentlessly pursues them. The two finally hide behind a bush, but the creature also begins approaching them while growling loudly. By morning, the remaining 5 soldiers have made it out of the dense jungle. Miller insists that they must go back to find Baker and Leon, but Eli refuses and wants to call for emergency backup right away. However, Miller points out that the radio is with Leon, which leaves all of them helpless with no way of outside communication. Elsewhere, Baker and Leon are still fleeing from the dinosaur. When they reach a cliff overlooking a river, with no other options, they jump into the river, and the relentless T-Rex also dives in after them. The impact shakes the entire valley, and Leon loses consciousness from the fall. Baker drags Leon to the riverbank, and together, they manage to escape while avoiding the creature. However, all of a sudden, a mysterious Russian woman appears and introduces herself as Sophia. She helps Baker pull Leon out of the water, and Baker realizes that she possesses advanced knowledge of these dinosaurs. Sophia invites them to her shelter for safety, and even though Baker is initially hesitant to trust a Russian, he doesn't have any other option and reluctantly agrees. Meanwhile, the rest of the Vulture Squad continues advancing in a different direction to search for their missing comrades. They soon encounter several dinosaurs again, but since these creatures are herbivores, they remain peaceful. "Y'all got any weed?" and do not attack the humans. Elsewhere, Sophia takes Baker and Leon to a laboratory called Research Station 4, where she has been living for a year. Sophia reveals that she is a paleontologist and that the entire situation is tied to a Soviet experiment led by a general named Borodin. During this, Sophia injects morphine into her arm farm, revealing that living alone in a place like this has taken a toll on her and led to a drug addiction. The herbivores are bad influences. Afterwards, Leon manages to contact the base, and an angry Baker speaks with Colonel Jericho while explaining the situation with the dinosaurs. He also asks the colonel to investigate a Russian general named Borodin, who is behind the whole operation. However, Jericho does not believe that ancient dinosaurs could actually come to life, but he agrees to have his team look into Borodin. Baker then scolds him for sending them without proper information and demands that a helicopter be dispatched to rescue them by tonight. After the call, the three leave the facility to search for the rest of their team so they can return home. Elsewhere, we see the Vulture Squad crossing an open field when, all of a sudden, Soviet snipers begin firing at them, and Keyes is wounded in the leg. Both teams take cover and engage in a relentless exchange of gunfire, which ultimately attracts a flock of flying dinosaurs. The creatures begin attacking the humans, forcing both the Americans and Soviets to join forces against them. One of the dinosaurs tears apart a Soviet soldier, so the rest of the creatures also rush to devour him, which gives the soldiers a chance to run away from there. Later, while tending to Keyes' wounds in the woods, the Vulture Squad eventually comes across Baker and Leon with the Russian woman, but they barely get a moment of relief before another group of dinosaurs arrives and begins attacking them. The soldiers fire relentlessly, but one of the dinosaurs manages to reach Keyes and begins attacking him. Keyes is badly injured and fears it's the end for him, but soon reaches for his knife and stabs the creature in the neck. The dinosaur lets out a terrifying scream, which draws the attention of the other soldiers. They begin shooting at the dinosaur, prompting it to leave Keyes alone and finally retreat. Following this, the group brings Keyes to the research station, where they attempt to treat his severe wounds. They administer morphine to ease his pain, but Sophia soon takes an injection for herself and heads to another room. Baker then approaches and scolds her for her actions, during which Sophia reveals that the entire situation was an accident. She then explains how Borodin intended to create wormholes to teleport to the United States and destroy the enemy from within. However, the experiment went disastrously wrong, and the collider used caused particles to exceed the speed of light, opening a portal between the past and the present. This caused several dinosaurs from the Cretaceous period to appear in the valley during the Vietnam War. Sophia's husband and the other scientists tried to resist Borodin's orders, but he had them eliminated. He then relocated the experiment to another facility and continues to try to reopen the wormhole. All of a sudden, the walls begin to rumble as the dinosaurs, having followed their trail, attack the research station. The soldiers fire from windows and doors, but soon a massive creature smashes through the main entrance and penetrates the building, just like Bert penetrates Ernie on a Valentine's Day. Sophia then mentions that there's a boat docked in the nearby river, but its engine is broken and she cannot repair it. However, she believes the soldiers can fix it and suggests they take the boat to flee from the station. With this, the group prepares to flee, but Keyes realizes he cannot escape and orders them to leave without him. His companions bid him farewell with a heavy heart and depart from the facility. Keyes then smiles and activates the explosives he has brought with him. A massive explosion rocks the station, which destroys several dinosaurs that are inside. Meanwhile, the rest of the group repairs the boat and escapes while mourning the loss of their friend. The next morning, Baker realizes they cannot leave things as they are, so he tells his team about the collider, which they must destroy. However, Sophia explains that the collider is unstable, and blowing it up would destroy the entire world. She says the only way to stop it is to go to the Soviet base and physically pull a plug. Thus, the group decides to head there, and after several hours of sailing, they arrive at a desolate area. They find the lifeless bodies of several soldiers, and soon a horde of dinosaurs rushes to attack them. The group fights them off with all their might, but during the chaos, Logan begins to lose his mind. He fires multiple shots at the creatures, but in a moment of despair, he takes his own life. The dinosaurs then gather around him to devour his body, giving the rest of the soldiers enough time to escape. In the evening, the group finally arrives in front of the Russian base. Baker calls Jericho to share their location and demands that a helicopter be sent for the rescue. They then spy from behind the walls and notice Borodin speaking with his team and describing dinosaurs as a tool to reshape the world and alter the course of the war. However, none of his men seem to support him anymore, and even Con Nen despises him for bringing dinosaurs into her homeland. Con Nen is starting to seem like she's just a hater. Following this, the American soldiers begin infiltrating the base, taking out many guards before planting explosives throughout the facility. They also free some rebellious Russian soldiers and manage to convince them to join their side. At the same time, some Russian soldiers notice a baby dinosaur approaching. And shoot it dead. However, this proves to be a grave mistake, as it instantly draws the attention of the dinosaurs' parents, who are actually T-Rexes. They are distraught to find their baby dead and begin wreaking havoc throughout the facility. During the chaos, Con Nen comes across Miller and recognizes him as one of the men who destroyed her village. She immediately attacks him while he begins to plead and apologize. They are soon approached by a dinosaur, forcing them to take cover behind a vehicle, but Con Nen still doesn't stop attacking the soldier. In the end, Miller once again apologizes for his actions and activates a bomb, which kills both of them and scares off the dinosaurs. Meanwhile, Sophia, Baker, and the rest of the group manage to reach the lab, where the final test has already begun, and the collider is about to open another portal. The only way to stop it is to cut the wires and deactivate the machine, but before she can do so, Borodin suddenly appears and tries to stop them. Baker injures him by shooting, while Sophia spits at him and lashes out for the death of her husband. Sophia then cuts the wire of the collider, causing the lights in the building to go out. However, when the emergency generator turns on the lights, they are shocked to see that Borodin is gone, while a group of dinosaurs is now infiltrating the building.
I got that good weird in here.
The group throws a smoke grenade and begins firing, while Borodin, in a final desperate attempt, tries to reactivate the collider. However, he is soon confronted by a T-Rex, which chomps him in seconds. The chaos continues as the corridors fill with angry dinosaurs, leaving the group with no way out. Sophia states she knows another exit and guides them towards it, but during the escape, Eli is grabbed by a dinosaur. Baker tries to save him, but the others soon drag him away, as there is no time to help. They find a ladder, and Baker tells his comrades to go first, while he holds back the approaching creatures. Outside, Colonel Jericho and several soldiers have arrived in choppas, and when they see the dinosaurs, they begin shooting relentlessly. Baker, on the other hand, keeps running from the facility while throwing grenades behind him. He is soon confronted by a feathered dinosaur, but Baker laughs and stabs it in the throat. At this moment, the explosives around the base go off, which blow up the whole place and even the creatures around. Baker is also killed, while the rest of his team manages to board the chopper just in time and fly away. Once on the flight, Jericho blames the Vulture Squad for losing the collider, which could have turned the tide of the Cold War in favor of the US. However, Sophia warns him that the damage is already done, and the dinosaurs have begun migrating out of the valley. The movie ends with a scene showing a group of herbivorous dinosaurs walking past an American military base, implying that the threat is far from over.